Welcome to Section 4, Video 2, Creating our Respawning System. In this video, we are going to set up our respawn system within our player and prepare our pickup actor. First, we are going to open our player character's source file, and within this source file, we are going to add some code within our onDeath function. We are first telling it to stop shooting, or don't allow us to shoot because we are dead, and then we are telling our character movement component to stop movement immediately, so if we are moving then stop it so we can't keep moving by adding the disabled movement function, and then stopping our character from being able to jump. Then we are removing our gun mesh from the arms mesh component, or detaching it, because it's trying to attach to a socket that won't exist once we set the mesh to hidden in-game, as well as our gun mesh. Now let's compile and save. Rebuild project under the Build tab. Now that it's finished compiling, let's actually test this by going into our blueprints, and in our player character BP, open the full blueprint editor, and in the event graph, right click and drag, and then in an open space, right click and enter num-. This is a keyboard event, or an event node, indicated by the red node. This is an event that will fire off code when something happens within the game. Drag out of the pressed execution pin, indicated by the arrow pointing right and the pressed name next to it, and enter apply damage. This is a function that we can call that will execute code for us, indicated by the node being blue. We need a damaged actor reference or pointer to input into this function, so drag out of damaged actor and enter in self. In Blueprint, the variable self is C++'s version of this, the keyword this. So if we enter this, it will point to our reference variable for self, which is pretty much the same thing. For our base damage, we will set it to 25. Select save, compile, and select play, and let's test this. Press the num-, and if you don't have this, you can always change it to another input key. And as we're pressing it, our health is going down, and now our arms mesh is gone, as well as our gun. We cannot shoot, and we cannot move or jump. Now let's use our respawn system by calling from our onDeath function that we have set up to be a Blueprint native event. So that way it would have a C++ version and Blueprint version of the code. Right click in the event graph and select onDeath. This will fire off whenever we call the onDeath function within C++ or Blueprint. Now this will only fire off from Blueprint code, and this will override our C++ code if it's ever placed within the event graph. To call our C++ version of the code, right click on the event onDeath node and select Add Call to Parent function. This will call the C++ version of the code, and connect the two execution pins from onDeath to parent onDeath, and now compile and save, and hit play, and it still does the same thing. To break a connection, hold the Alt key and left click, and it will break this. Compile and save, and hit play, and as you can see, our health going down below 0 doesn't cause our arms mesh or our gun to go away. We can still shoot, but when we connect them, it goes back to the way it should be. Now we are going to set up our respawn system by clicking the event graph, get game mode. This is a function that will only return information or data and does not execute any code, indicated by the green node instead of the blue node. Apply damage will actually execute code, while get game mode doesn't execute code, it just returns a value, or a data, or a pointer. Drag out of the return value for get game mode and type in cast2 GM gameplay BP. Connect the two execution pins from onDeath to cast2 GM gameplay BP, and what this will do is Blueprint's version of casting, where we input an object to check and see if it's our GM gameplay Blueprint version. We can also cast to a C++ class as well, but we're just going to do it for Blueprint for educational purposes. We can drag out of as gameplay BP as a sort of temporary variable and enter respawn player. Respawn player is the C++ function that we created within our GM gameplay C++ class, but because in the U function we made it blueprint callable, this allows us to call this function, and it will call the C++ code that we created without actually having to make any blueprint code. Now we need a new player to input, which is a controller object, which if we drag out of this and enter get controller, this is an already created function within all pawns that will return the controller for this actor. If you want to be able to change the execution route or cable to another node, hold Control and click and drag from that one, and you can drag out of that and connect it to another one. Select Save and Compile and hit play, and now when we run out of health, our player respawns to our new location. We will test this again in another location so you can see the difference. Our player has been destroyed and then respawns at the player start location that we have set within the world. Now let's create our pickup actor C++ class as well as the new folder path. In our C++ classes, under the public folder, right-click and select New C++ Class, select Actor, and select Next, and we will name this Pickup Actor. Our folder path will be /gameplay elements. Select Create Class, and in our source file, let's fix our path to our header file for our pickup actor by adding in gameplay elements /. In the next video, we will be setting up our pickup system.